What the hell is this? I screamed, holding up the tattered birth certificate. My voice cracked. My hands shook. Across from me sat a young woman, barely in her 20s, her face an eerie reflection of mine. Same cheekbones. Same eyes. Same fire. She looked up at me, confused. Is something wrong with my documents, ma'am? I couldn't breathe. Because the name signed at the bottom of her certificate wasn't just familiar, it was mine. Jessica Lynn Coleman. My signature. My writing. A name I hadn't signed on a birth certificate since I was 17 and told that my baby had died during delivery. My name is Jessica Coleman, and I'm 39 years old. I'm a wife. A mother. And until that day, I thought I was also a woman who had buried her daughter 22 years ago in silence. But what I didn't know, what no one told me, was that I had been robbed. And now that I had her back, somebody was going to pay. Let's go back to the beginning. Atlanta, Georgia. 2002. I was 17, smart, focused, naive. A preacher's daughter with perfect grades and a perfectly controlled life. Then I met Daniel Clark. He was 21, tall, charming, with that smooth-talking Southern confidence that made me feel like I was the only girl in the world. Of course, he promised forever. Of course, I believed him. So when the pregnancy test turned positive, I expected a ring. But all I got was a voicemail. Jess, I can't. I'm sorry. I've got law school, my parents would kill me. I'm not ready to be a dad. That was it. He ghosted me like I never existed. When I told my parents, my dad threw a Bible at me. My mom didn't speak for 3 days. Then she packed my bags and shipped me off to my Aunt Linda's place in upstate New York. God will forgive you, Jessica. But we can't let the church find out, she said coldly. I was the shame they had to bury. I gave birth at a state hospital in Albany. It was late. Cold. I remember the moment she came out, her tiny cry like music I didn't deserve. She had a tiny pink birthmark on her neck. I held her. Kissed her forehead. Whispered her name, Ava. But then, the nurses took her. Said they needed to clean her up. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Finally, a man in a white coat, Dr. Mason Wells, walked in and said, I'm sorry. There were complications. The baby didn't make it. I screamed. I heard her cry. I held her. But all they did was hand me a folded white cloth and told me to sign a form. No body. No explanation. Just let go. So I did. At least, I thought I did. 2024, Chicago. I'm now the founder and CEO of a medical recruitment agency. Married to a good man. 2 boys, a house in the suburbs, and a corner office with glass walls. That Tuesday, my assistant Tasha buzzed in. Jess, you need to come out here. One of the job applicants just arrived and I swear, she looks just like you. I laughed it off. A lot of girls do, Tasha. I've got one of those faces. No, ma'am. I mean, it's like looking at your younger self. I walked out. And saw her. She stood confidently, mid-20s, brown curls, soft eyes, dressed like she meant business. But it wasn't just resemblance. It was the way my knees buckled when I saw that same faint birthmark on her neck. She smiled politely. Hi. I'm Ava Daniels. I'm here for the nurse recruitment coordinator position. Daniels. My high school boyfriend's last name. Where are you from, Ava? I asked, trying to sound casual. Albany, New York. I was adopted. My parents told me when I turned 16 that my birth mother passed during childbirth. Do you have any documentation? I asked. Just this. My mom said it's all they had. She handed me a yellowing envelope. Inside, a birth certificate. I recognized my own handwriting before I even saw the name. Jessica Lynn Coleman. Infant name, Ava. My signature stared back at me like a ghost dragging me into the grave I thought I left behind. I locked the door. Sat down. Ava. I think I'm your mother. She stared at me like I'd just told her the sky was green. I always wondered. I never felt like I belonged. I had dreams about a woman singing to me. I thought I was going crazy. I wasn't going crazy. I was just waking up. That night, I didn't sleep. I dug through old journals, boxes my aunt kept, and hospital records. Everything pointed to one thing. They lied. They told me she died. But she didn't. She was taken. I hired a private investigator named Trey Morris, a sharp, no-nonsense guy who specialized in medical fraud. Within 2 weeks, he had names. Dr. Mason Wells, the same doctor from 2002, had a long list of lost newborns from underage or unwed mothers. Babies who mysteriously died and were buried by the hospital. No death certificates. No burial records. And Ava? She wasn't the only one. Trey found connections to a closed-door adoption agency linked to high-dollar fertility clients. Young, desperate girls were the supply. Rich, infertile couples were the demand. Doctors were the brokers. Hospitals were the market. And then came the twist I didn't expect. Daniel Clark, Ava's father, wasn't just living his best life in D.C. as a congressman now. He was also one of the people who funded the illegal adoption pipeline through a Clean Family Initiative NGO. He didn't just disappear from my life. He used my daughter's stolen life to build his career. I snapped. Not emotionally. Strategically. Because if there's one thing I learned in 22 years of pain, revenge doesn't knock. It plans. I created a fake healthcare ethics conference in Chicago. Invited Dr. Mason Wells as the keynote speaker. Even reached out to Daniel's campaign to honor his contributions. Everyone RSVP'd. That night, Ava wore a red dress and walked in beside me. Her smile? Polite. Her eyes? Fire. Dr. Wells stood on the stage, smiling, shaking hands, the same hands that took my baby. And just before he started his speech, I walked on stage. Before you talk about saving lives, doctor, I'd like to ask about the babies you stole from their mothers in 2002. The room went silent. I pulled out printed files, hospital logs, witness statements, even video evidence from Trey's investigation. Cameras flashed. People gasped. And then? I turned to Daniel Clark. And Congressman Clark, how do you feel knowing your NGO funded the sale of your own child? He froze. That moment. It was the power shift I waited my whole life for. Dr. Wells was arrested that night. 2 nurses fled the country. Daniel denied everything until Ava walked on stage and showed her DNA test results, matching mine. The flash of cameras blinded me as Dr. Wells was dragged out in handcuffs. Daniel's face had gone ashen, his polished politician smile cracking like cheap porcelain. I stood on that stage, Ava's hand clasped in mine, feeling the heat of triumph and the cold undercurrent of what was still to come. They thought I'd won. But revenge isn't a single strike. It's a pattern. 2 days later. The police called it case closed. Dr. Wells' clinic records were lost in a server crash. The nurses who fled? No extradition treaties. And Daniel? He held a press conference, tears glistening as he claimed he'd been manipulated by rogue actors, his career Teflon-coated by his deep regret. I watched the broadcast from my office, Ava beside me. She'd moved in temporarily, her adoptive parents, decent people, clueless pawns, left reeling. They're not even trying, she muttered, her voice steel-wrapped in hurt. I didn't answer. I was already 3 steps ahead. Trey, my PI, met me at a derelict storage facility outside Chicago. The air smelled like rust and secrets. The feds buried the hard drives, he said, handing me a flash drive. But I made copies. There's a ledger, offshore accounts, shell companies. Your ex wasn't just a donor. He was recruiting girls like you. Vulnerable. No family to ask questions. I scrolled through the files. Names. Dates. Payments. And then, my name. 2002, J. Coleman. $50,000. Fetus, female. Buyer, the Holloways. My blood turned to ice. The Holloways. A name I'd seen in the society pages, philanthropists, donors to Daniel's campaigns. They bought me? Ava whispered, staring at the screen. No, I said. They owned you. He Holloways hosted a charity gala that weekend. I RSVP'd yes using a donor alias. Ava wore a black dress, her face a mask of calm as we walked into their Gold Coast mansion. Eleanor Holloway greeted us, her smile porcelain smooth. You're the recruiter, yes? How noble. I smiled back. I prefer Truth Seeker. Later, in their library, I slipped into a back office. Ava kept watch. The desk drawer yielded a passport, hidden beneath ledgers. A baby's photo inside. Our baby. Ava's hands shook. They kept this? All these years? They kept proof, I said. And now they'll choke on it. The next morning, the Holloway's mansion made headlines. A gas leak sparked an explosion. No injuries. Just coincidental timing. I watched the news, sipping coffee. Ava stared at the flames flickering on screen. You didn't. I didn't have to, I said. But I wanted them to know I was here. That I'm always here. 3 nights later, I woke to the sound of breaking glass. Downstairs, the kitchen window was shattered. On the counter sat a doll. Its head was split open, cotton stuffing spilling out. Taped to its chest, a photo of my youngest son at school. Ava found me gripping the counter, my breath ragged. We need to go to the police, she said. I laughed. The same police who lost the files? No. This is how they play. I turned to her, my voice a blade. But so do I. Trey uncovered more. The adoption ring wasn't just a side hustle. It was a network. Judges. Politicians. CEOs. All connected through a charity called New Beginnings, a front masking a baby trafficking empire. And the head of it all? A name I'd never forget. Senator Richard Voss. Daniel's mentor. The man who'd endorsed his congressional run. The same man who'd spoken at my high school graduation, praising family values. I invited Voss to my office under the guise of a recruitment partnership. He arrived, all grandfatherly charm, tailored suit, and a lifetime of secrets. Jessica, your agency has an excellent reputation, he said, settling into my chair. I closed the door. Locked it. Thank you, Senator. Though I'm surprised you'd want to work with someone who's exposed your friends. His smile tightened. Water under the bridge. We all make mistakes. Mistakes? I slid the ledger across the desk. Like selling my daughter? Or the 47 other girls in this file? He didn't flinch. You think you're the first to threaten me? I've buried better. I'm not here to threaten. I leaned in. I'm here to negotiate. Voss' eyes narrowed. What could you possibly have that I'd want? I hit play on my laptop. A video began, Voss at a New Beginnings gala, whispering to a donor, special requests cost extra. His face paled. I want immunity, I said. For all the mothers. And full custody of every child still in your system. You step down. Disappear. Or this goes public. You're insane. Am I? Or are you just scared of a woman who doesn't blink? He stood abruptly. You have 24 hours to take this offer off the table. The door clicked shut. That night, Ava found me in the dark, staring at my son's photos. You're scaring me, she said. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. She hesitated. What if he's right? What if we can't win? I turned to her, my voice breaking for the first time. They stole 22 years from us. But they didn't steal this, the fact that you're here. That I'm here. And I will burn everything to ash before I let them take one more second. At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A voice, distorted, you should have taken the offer. The line went dead. Outside, a car idled. A figure in the driver's seat stared up at my window, silhouetted, faceless. Then it drove away. But on my doorstep, they'd left something. A tiny, white hospital bracelet. Name Ava Coleman. DOB, October 17, 2002. The one they'd taken from my wrist when they told me she was dead. I'd buried it with my grief. Now it was back. And this time, the message was clear. They'd been watching all along. That hospital bracelet stared up at me from my doorstep like a relic from the grave. The cheap plastic was yellowed with age, the ink faded but unmistakable, Ava Coleman. DOB, October 17, 2002. The one they'd pried from my wrist in that cold Albany hospital room, right before they told me my daughter was dead. I hadn't seen it in 22 years. Now it was here, mocking me. Ava stood behind me in the doorway, her breath sharp. Mom, how? Who could have this? I didn't answer. Couldn't. My mind raced through the shadows of the past, piecing together the nightmare. They'd been watching. Not just me, Ava, my sons, my life. This wasn't a warning, it was a declaration. We stepped inside, locking the door with 3 deadbolts. I clutched the bracelet like a weapon. Pack a bag. We're not staying here. Trey had a contact, an old army buddy with a rundown cabin in the Wisconsin woods. No address on file, no digital footprint. We left Chicago under the cover of dawn, Ava driving while I scanned the mirrors for tails. My sons were with my husband at his parents' place. I'd lied and said it was a work trip. God, the lies I told to protect them. In the cabin, the air smelled of pine and isolation. Trey arrived hours later, his face grim as he unloaded a box of files. I traced the bracelet through hospital surplus records. It was supposed to be incinerated in 2002. But someone kept it, as a trophy. Ava paced the small room, her curls wild. A trophy? Like we're some kind of game? More like insurance, Trey said, spreading photos across the table. Look at this. The adoption ring wasn't just about money. It was a club. Senator Voss, Daniel, the Holloways, they're all linked to a private society called the Circle. High-powered elites who curate families. Voss runs it from the shadows. I leaned in, my heart pounding. One photo caught my eye, a group shot from a 2005 gala. Voss, Daniel, and a woman I recognized, my Aunt Linda. The same aunt who'd taken me in all those years ago. She was smiling, arm in arm with Voss. No. Not possible. Ava noticed my reaction. Who is that? My aunt, I whispered. The one who saved me. Shipped me off, kept me quiet. She knew. She had to. The room tilted. All those years, I'd blamed my parents, Daniel, the hospital. But Linda? She'd fed me soup and lullabies while feeding information to the very people who stole my child. Rage boiled in my veins, hot and unrelenting. This wasn't just betrayal, it was the thread pulling everything apart. We couldn't wait. I needed answers, and Linda was the key. Trey tracked her to a modest house in upstate New York, the same town where I'd given birth. We drove through the night, the highway blurring into a streak of fear and fury. Ava gripped the dashboard. What if she denies it? What if she's dangerous? She won't deny it, I said, my voice steady as steel. Not when I show her this. I held up the bracelet, then a printout from Trey's files, a memo signed by Linda, dated 2002. Subject, J. Coleman. Baby transferred per circle protocol. Payment received. We pulled up to her house at midnight. The porch light flickered like a warning. I knocked, Ava at my side, Trey watching from the car. Linda opened the door, her face paling when she saw me. She was older now, wrinkles etching the lies into her skin. Jessica? What are you doing here? I pushed inside, slamming the door. You knew, didn't you? About Ava. About the ring. You handed me over like I was nothing. She backed away, eyes darting. It was for your own good. Voss promised you'd move on, have a normal life. I was protecting the family. Protecting? I laughed, bitter and broken. You mean protecting yourself? How much did they pay you? How many other girls did you betray? Ava stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. I'm your niece. Your blood. And you let them take me. Linda's facade cracked. She collapsed into a chair, sobbing. It wasn't just money. Voss, he has dirt on everyone. Photos, recordings. If I talked, he'd ruin me. Ruin us all. I leaned in close, my breath on her face. Give me something real. Names. Proof. Or I walk out and take you down with them. She hesitated, then pulled a hidden safe from under the floorboards. Inside, a thumb drive and a stack of photos. This is everything. Meetings, transactions. Voss's personal ledger. But Jessica, he's not alone. There's someone else pulling strings. A fixer. Calls himself the Ghost. He's the one who's been watching you. As I grabbed the drive, the front door creaked open. Trey burst in, gun drawn. We've got company. 2 cars outside. Get down. Gunshots echoed in the distance, muffled, but close. Linda screamed. We ducked behind the couch as windows shattered. Chaos erupted. Trey fired back, covering us as we bolted for the back door. Ava grabbed my arm, pulling me through the yard into the woods. Branches whipped at my face, the night air thick with adrenaline. We made it to the car, tires screeching as we sped away. In the rearview, I saw figures in black, faceless men, moving like shadows. The Ghost's people? Back at the cabin, we pored over Linda's files. The thumb drive revealed a web of corruption. Voss's society had expanded, trafficking not just babies but influence. Judges swayed, cases buried. And Daniel? He wasn't just involved, he was climbing the ladder to run for Senate, using the circle for endorsements. But the real twist hit like a punch to the gut. A photo of my husband, smiling at a charity event with Voss. A note attached, potential recruit. Family ties to J. Coleman. Useful leverage. No. God, no. Had he known? Was he part of this? Ava's eyes widened. Mom, is this? I shook my head, denial clawing at my throat. He couldn't. He wouldn't. But doubt poisoned every memory. The late nights, the evasive answers. Had I married into the enemy? Trey interrupted, his voice urgent. We've got a lead on the Ghost. He's ex-military, works as a private enforcer. Last known location, a warehouse in Detroit. If we hit it now, we can end this. I nodded, my resolve hardening. This wasn't just about revenge anymore, it was survival. For Ava, for my sons. I rallied a small team: Trey, a former victim I'd connected with online, and Ava herself. We weren't playing defense, we were going on the offensive. Detroit's underbelly was a maze of abandoned buildings and forgotten dreams. We arrived at the warehouse under a stormy sky, rain pounding like drums of war. Trey handled the tech, hacking security cameras while we slipped inside. The air was stale, reeking of oil and secrets. In the dim light, I saw him, the ghost. Tall, scarred, face half hidden by a hood. He was sorting through boxes of files, just like the ones we had. "You shouldn't have come," he said, voice calm as he turned to face us. No gun in his hand, yet. I stepped forward, the bracelet in my pocket like a talisman. "You left this for me." "Why? To scare me off?" He chuckled, low and menacing. "To remind you. We own the past. And now, we own your future." Ava lunged, but I held her back. "Who's we? Voss? Daniel? Or someone higher?" His eyes flicked to the files. "You think this ends with them? There's always a bigger player. Dig deeper, and you'll find out just how deep the rabbit hole goes." Before I could respond, alarms blared. Reinforcements, his men, stormed in. A fight broke out: punches, shouts, the crack of wood against bone. Trey took down two, but the ghost slipped away, vanishing into the shadows. We grabbed what we could: a final file, encrypted but promising, and escaped as sirens wailed in the distance. Back at the cabin, the file decrypted to reveal one last horror: a list of ongoing assets. My name. Ava's. And at the top, a reference to Project Phoenix, a plan to silence witnesses permanently. But the power shift came when I realized we weren't alone. Other mothers, like me, had been reaching out. Emails, messages, they were ready to fight. With Linda's evidence, we could expose it all. For the first time, I felt hope. We were building an army. Yet, as the sun set, a noise outside made us freeze. Footsteps. A whisper in the wind. And then, on the cabin window, scratched into the glass with a knife, "Phoenix rises. You're next." I turned to Ava, my heart racing. Whatever was coming, it was bigger than we imagined. The words etched into the cabin window glared back at me like a curse: "Phoenix rises. You're next." Rain streaked down the glass, blurring the letters, but not the terror they ignited. Ava and I froze, our breaths sinking in the dim light. Trey was already at the door, gun in hand, scanning the tree line. The woods outside were a black void, hiding whatever, or whoever, had left that message. "Grab the files," I whispered, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "We're not waiting for them to come back." Ava nodded, her face pale but determined. We'd come too far to run scared, but the reality hit hard: this wasn't just about exposing the past anymore. Project Phoenix was alive, and it had us in its sights. We fled the cabin before dawn, trading the isolation of Wisconsin for the chaos of a safe house in a dingy Chicago suburb, Trey's cousin's place, off the grid and fortified like a bunker. The drive was a blur of paranoia, every headlights in the rearview felt like a predator closing in. I clutched the thumb drive from Linda's safe, its weight a constant reminder of the web we were unraveling. Inside the safe house, the air was stale and thick with tension. Trey set up a makeshift command center on the kitchen table: laptops, maps, and scattered photos from our raids. Ava paced, her fingers tracing the faint birthmark on her neck, the one that mirrored mine. "Mom, what is Project Phoenix?" "It's not just a name, it's a plan. And we're on it." I didn't have answers yet, but I knew where to start. The files from the warehouse showdown painted a chilling picture. Project Phoenix was the Circle's endgame, a systematic operation to eliminate loose ends. Stolen babies, silenced mothers, and now, a kill list. My name was on it, along with Ava's and others like us. But as we dug deeper, inconsistencies emerged that made my blood run cold. One photo stood out: my husband, Mark, at that same 2005 gala with Voss and Linda. But there was more: a series of emails printed from the drive, exchanged between Mark and an anonymous account. Handle the Coleman situation discreetly. She's getting too close. Dated just last year. No. Not Mark. He was my rock, the one who held me through the anniversaries of my lost daughter. Or was he? Doubt clawed at me, a venomous whisper in my ear. Had he married me to keep tabs on me? To ensure I never uncovered the truth? Ava snatched the emails from my hand. Is this real? Dad, involved? How could he? I shook my head, tears stinging. I don't know. But we're finding out. The emotional hook sank deeper than any betrayal. I'd built a life with him, raised sons with him. If he was part of this, it wasn't just the circle I was fighting, it was the foundation of my world crumbling. Trey interrupted, his voice grim. We've got a location. Mark's been making trips to a storage unit in the city, paid in cash, under a fake name. If he's hiding something, it's there. We moved fast, under the cover of night. The storage facility was a forgotten maze of metal doors and flickering lights, tucked away in Chicago's industrial underbelly. Rain soaked through my jacket as we approached Unit 47, my heart pounding with every step. Trey picked the lock while Ava and I stood guard, shadows playing tricks on our nerves. Inside, the air was musty, filled with boxes and forgotten relics. But it wasn't junk we found, it was a shrine to my past. Files labeled with my name, photos of me from high school, even a recording device hidden in a dusty envelope. And at the center, a locked safe. Trey cracked it open to reveal stacks of cash, a gun, and a journal. Mark's journal. I flipped through the pages, my hands trembling. Entries from 2002, Voss pulled strings. The baby's gone, clean slate for Daniel. My cut ensures silence. Then, years later, married Jessica. Perfect cover. Keep her close, keep her quiet. The twist hit like a freight train. Mark wasn't just involved, he was the insider. He'd fed information to the circle, using our marriage as a shield. All those late nights, the unexplained trips, they weren't for work. They were for them. For Phoenix. Ava's voice broke the silence. He knew about me? All along? I nodded, rage and grief warring inside me. He played me. Us. But now we have proof. Real, undeniable proof. This was the power shift I needed, the evidence to dismantle them from within. With Mark's journal, we could connect the dots, Voss's society, Daniel's political rise, Linda's betrayal. It was all here, a roadmap to their downfall. But as I stuffed the journal into my bag, the door creaked. A figure stepped out of the shadows, Mark. His eyes widened when he saw us. Jessica? What the hell are you doing here? I stepped forward, my voice ice. Explaining myself to you? After this? I held up the journal, waving it like a weapon. How long, Mark? How long have you been lying? He glanced at Trey's gun, then back at me, his face a mask of calculated calm. It's not what you think. I was trying to protect you, from them. From Phoenix. Liar! Ava shouted, her fury mirroring mine. You were part of it. Mark edged closer, desperation creeping in. Listen to me. Voss has eyes everywhere. If you expose this, they'll come for you, for our sons. I've been feeding them false info to buy time. But there's more. Phoenix isn't just about silencing, it's about replacement. They're planning something bigger, targeting other families, creating new assets. And the one calling the shots, it's not Voss. It's someone you never suspected. Before I could press him, headlights flooded the unit. A black van screeched to a stop outside, doors slamming. Shouts echoed, men in dark clothing, moving like ghosts. The ghost's crew? Or worse. Mark's expression shifted to panic. They tracked you. Run, Jessica. Now. We bolted, weaving through the facility's corridors as gunfire erupted behind us. Trey returned fire, covering our escape, but the pursuers were relentless. We piled into our car, tires squealing as we sped into the night. Mark didn't follow, he stayed behind, a sacrificial lamb or a final deception? I didn't know, and I didn't care. Not yet. Back at the safe house, we regrouped, adrenaline still pumping. The journal revealed fragments of Phoenix's master plan, a network of fake identities, coerced adoptions, and targeted hits on anyone who threatened exposure. But the real horror was in the names, dozens of mothers like me, and at the top, a new entry, my sons. They were leverage. Potential recruits. Or targets. Ava and I sat in silence, the weight of it crushing. This was my emotional hook, the one that made me question everything. Was I fighting for justice, or had I dragged my family into the abyss? But in that darkness, a power shift emerged. We weren't alone anymore. Using the safe house's secure line, I reached out to the other mothers I'd connected with, women from online forums, sharing their stories of lost children. They were ready, armed with their own evidence. Together, we formed a coalition, a force that could topple the circle once and for all. As dawn broke, we prepared our next move, a direct assault on Voss's stronghold. But just as we thought we had the upper hand, a noise from the basement made us freeze. Footsteps. A door creaking open. And then, a voice, familiar, chilling, echoed up the stairs. Jessica, you should have stayed buried in the past. Now, you'll wish you had. Ava gripped my hand, her eyes wide with fear but burning with fire. Who is that? I didn't answer. I already knew. Trey moved fast, gun drawn, sweeping the staircase with calm precision. I followed him down, my heart thudding like a war drum. Ava was behind me, refusing to be left out. She had survived this long, she wouldn't be silent in the end. In the basement, standing in the pale light of a flickering bulb, was Senator Alden Voss, the man behind it all. No security detail. No entourage. Just him. Watching us like a man who believed he was still in control. How did you find us? I demanded. Voss smiled coldly. You have no idea how deep this goes. You think whistleblowers and files scare me? He stepped forward, unarmed but arrogant. You're a pawn, Jessica. They'll erase you before morning. I stepped up to him, nose to nose, voice low as death. I'm not a pawn. I'm the mother of the child you stole. And this time, I'm checkmate. Then, I spit in his face. Trey's men rushed in and restrained him. Ava stared, her whole body trembling. She didn't flinch or cry. She stared at the man who had ordered her life to be signed away like merchandise. We're not hiding anymore, she said. We're going to end this. And that night, we lit the match. The next 48 hours were a blur of coordination. We didn't go to the police. Not at first. That would have been suicide. Too many insiders. Too many hands in the pockets of law and media. Instead, we went public on our terms. Trey uploaded hundreds of files from Voss's drive, the baby-selling ring, the forged adoption records, the blackmail payments, the real names behind the circle. Jessica. Daniel. Voss. Linda. Mark. Names. Documents. Pictures. Audio. Everything. Dumped online in a massive encrypted leak hidden behind a wall of mirrors that no hacker could trace and no politician could dismantle. One file led to an anonymous tip to every credible news outlet in the country. Another file went to an international watchdog group in Germany. Ava, brave and sharp, wrote an open letter that we published on every platform, signed. My name is Ava Coleman. I was stolen at birth, sold like property. And now, I'm taking my name back. The story exploded. It was bigger than us now. The next morning, the Washington Post ran the headline. Stolen at birth, secret adoption ring tied to sitting senator. By day's end, Daniel Clark withdrew from the Senate primary and released a laughable "I had no idea" statement. Too late. Leaked emails showed him signing off on 5 black market adoptions, including Ava's. Voss was arrested in D.C. later that night. Federal charges: trafficking, racketeering, obstruction of justice, and something called birth identity laundering. My Aunt Linda's face was plastered on news stations. She tried to run, but the FBI caught her in Ontario with fake IDs and $200,000 in her trunk. The 2 nurses who fled the country? Caught in Portugal. And Mark? Oh. He came home 2 days after the leak hit. Wearing the same crisp suit he always wore, and an expression I couldn't read. I greeted him at the door not with a scream, but with silence. I let him talk. It started as a mistake, he said, voice trembling for the first time. I was broke. I owed money. Voss gave me a way out. I said nothing. They told me you'd never remember. That you'd never know, he said. So I stayed close. Married you. I thought, maybe it would fix everything. I held up his journal. Fix it? You used our love to spy on me. On her. You were part of the theft of a child. He dropped his gaze. I deserve prison. I nodded. Good. Because that's where you're going. Trey stepped out from the hallway. 2 federal officers followed. I'd arranged it ahead of time, just in case Mark showed his face again. I looked one last time at the man I thought I'd grow old with. Tell the prison guards, I whispered, to check your pockets. You're still carrying Voss's lies. They took him away. The trials were long. Over 30 mothers came forward. Each told a story worse than the next. Some thought their babies died. Some were sedated during labor and woke up with empty arms. Others were told their babies were stillborn, despite no certificate or burial. I testified. Ava sat right beside me. She told the courts what it meant to grow up feeling like a misfit, haunted by dreams of a mother she'd never met. Of birthdays that felt wrong. Of nightmares that somehow always ended in lights, beeping machines, and a woman crying. For every lie they told, she gave them truth. The prosecution made an example of Voss. He got 147 years in federal prison without parole. Daniel? 73, my Aunt Linda? 45, the nurses? More. But for me, there was one moment that meant more than any sentence. Standing outside the courthouse, after the final verdict. Ava turned to me and said, "You never stopped looking. Even when you thought I was gone." I cried, hard. Not out of pain this time. But because I remembered the nights I lit candles for a daughter I thought was dead, and now here she was. Alive. Laughing. Free. She changed her last name. From Daniels to Coleman. Not because I asked her to, because she wanted to. And every year on her real birthday, we light that candle again. Not in mourning. But for the babies we couldn't save. And the mothers no one else believed. She works with me now, at the healthcare agency. We started a foundation. Light Keepers. It helps women uncover false records tied to adoption fraud and labor trafficking. And we've already exposed clinics in Arizona, Minnesota, and one international branch operating in Honduras. This fight, our fight, isn't over. But we're not running anymore. One thing still keeps me up at night. A note we found inside Voss's private account. Just one line, buried in a sea of data. Coleman baby, special asset. Strong DNA indicators. Flagged for long-term placement. I don't know what they meant. Genetic potential? A program? A bigger system? All I know is, they never expected me to survive the lie. They never expected Ava to find her voice. And they sure as hell didn't expect 2 broken women to tear down their empire. But we did. Not with revenge. With truth. With paper trails and press conferences and burned bridges we never planned to rebuild. Some women get buried by their trauma. But not me. That night in 2002, they stole my child. In 2025, I stole back the power. Every trial. Every headline. Every arrest with my daughter watching. Was a moment they wished she'd stayed dead. Too bad. Because we're just getting started. The greatest power isn't in hiding your pain, it's in transforming it into purpose. Jessica Coleman could have remained buried in her grief, accepting the lie that her daughter died at birth. Instead, when truth revealed itself 22 years later, she channeled her rage into methodical justice. She didn't just seek personal revenge, she dismantled an entire system of corruption that had victimized countless mothers. What Jessica teaches us is that true strength comes not from forgetting our wounds, but from using them to recognize the wounds in others. By connecting with other mothers who shared her experience, she built something more powerful than any single act of vengeance. She created a movement that brought light to decades of darkness. Her story reminds us that justice doesn't always arrive on its own timeline. Sometimes it takes years, even decades, of quiet persistence before the moment comes when you can finally reclaim what was stolen, whether that's a child, your dignity, or simply the truth. If someone took everything from you and buried it under a mountain of lies, would you have the courage to keep digging, even if it meant tearing down every relationship and institution you once trusted? Or would you, like so many before you, accept the comfortable lie because the truth demands too high a price? Thank you for spending your time with my story. Feel free to share your thoughts or reactions in the comments, I'd love to hear from you.